The river was cold that morning, merciless and wild, thrashing under a gray sky that had yet to make room for the sun. Along the muddy riverbank, a few early joggers had already passed by, oblivious to the faint, desperate cries that were drowned beneath the wind. But one man heard them. 35-year-old Nathan Rivers wasn't supposed to be there. He had taken a different route from his usual morning walk, still lost in the fog of a restless night. His mind was cluttered with bills, deadlines, and an argument with his brother that still stung. But as he passed the old iron bridge, he stopped. A sharp panic bark. Then another. Nathan turned his head sharply. From the edge of the bridge, he could see the silhouette, barely visible, of a dog struggling against the river's ruthless current. It was small, maybe a Labrador pup or a retriever mix, but it was hard to tell. The water thrashed and roared around it like a monster pulling it deeper. For a moment, he froze. Nobody else was there. No one to take charge. No one else had noticed. It was just him and the dog. He could have walked away. Pretended he didn't see. Told himself it wasn't his problem. But something inside Nathan shifted. The noise faded. The wind went silent. All he could hear now was the sound of that dog's desperate gasps. Nathan dropped his phone, his coat, his wallet. Without another thought, he sprinted down the embankment. The mud sucked at his shoes as he ran, but he didn't stop. With a guttural yell, he dove into the river. The cold punched him in the chest, stealing the air from his lungs. It felt like thousands of needles piercing his skin. But he pushed forward, eyes fixed on the flailing dog. "Hang on, buddy. I'm coming," he shouted, though the river swallowed his voice. Each stroke was a battle. The current pulled him sideways, pushing him under, dragging him away. But Nathan fought. For reasons he didn't fully understand, he fought. As he got closer, he saw the terror in the dog's eyes, pure fear, the kind you can't fake. Its little body was losing strength, sinking more with every second. Nathan reached out, his fingertips grazing wet fur. One last kick. One last push, and he caught it. "I got you. I got you," he gasped. The dog clung to him with all the energy it had left, claws digging into his arms. Nathan turned back toward the shore, but now the current had grown stronger, angrier. His muscles burned, lungs screaming for air. He kicked. He clawed. He kept moving. But the shoreline seemed so far away. Minutes passed like hours. A sharp pain stabbed through his leg, a cramp. He screamed in agony but didn't let go. He would not let go. He thought of his brother, of how they hadn't spoken in weeks. He thought of his mom, who always said he was too soft-hearted for this world. And he thought of this dog, this innocent creature who had no idea who he was but trusted him anyway. With one final surge of energy, he pushed forward and felt ground beneath his feet. He stumbled onto the shore, collapsed in the mud, still clutching the trembling dog to his chest. They were safe. Nathan lay there, shivering and gasping, unable to believe what had just happened. The dog whined softly, licking his chin, its body shaking with fear and exhaustion. A woman screamed from above. "Oh my God! Are you okay? Is that your dog?" Nathan looked up. A small crowd had gathered along the bridge, some with phones out, some shouting. He shook his head. "No, I just heard him. I couldn't leave him." Paramedics were called. Nathan was wrapped in a blanket, his lips purple, body trembling. The dog was taken in by animal rescue, still clinging to Nathan until the very last moment. As he sat in the ambulance, Nathan looked down at his hands, scratched, numb, and muddy. He didn't even know the dog's name. But in that moment, it didn't matter. Something inside him had changed. What he didn't know was that this was just the beginning. The story was far from over. The ambulance ride was quiet. Nathan sat with the silver blanket still wrapped around him, his clothes soaked and his hands trembling. A paramedic offered him tea in a paper cup, and he accepted it, not because he wanted it, but because holding something warm felt like a lifeline. He stared out the window, his mind still back at the river, at the eyes of the dog, wild, terrified, and then grateful. That moment of connection had pierced something deep in him. It was more than just instinct. It was something primal, something human. At the hospital, after a round of tests and a warm bed, he was discharged. No broken bones, just a mild case of hypothermia and a few nasty scratches. As he walked out, the nurse smiled at him. "You're kind of a hero today, you know. That dog's lucky." Nathan gave a small, tired laugh. "I don't feel like one." Outside, the sun had finally broken through the clouds. It was a new day, but something lingered. A weight he couldn't name. As he made his way home, Nathan couldn't shake the image of the dog, alone, afraid, moments from drowning. Why had no one else heard it? Why had no one else cared? That night, he barely slept. He kept replaying it all. The current, the cold, the panic, and then that warmth when the dog had pressed against him, safe. The next morning, Nathan called the Animal Rescue Center. Hiya. I was the guy who pulled a dog out of the river yesterday. Do you know how he's doing? There was a pause. You must be Nathan. Yeah, everyone's talking about you here. The dog's okay. Shaken, but okay. He's not microchipped, though. Looks like a stray. Can I come see him? An hour later, Nathan stood outside the rescue center, heart thudding. He wasn't sure what he expected. Maybe the dog wouldn't remember him. Maybe it didn't matter. But the moment the handler led the little golden retriever mix into the room, all doubts disappeared. The dog bolted forward, tail wagging furiously, eyes wide and wet with recognition. It leapt into Nathan's arms, whimpering with joy. Guess he remembers you, the handler said with a smile. Nathan held him tightly, swallowing the lump in his throat. I didn't even know if he'd made it through the night. They let him spend time with the dog, just sitting, stroking his fur, letting him fall asleep in his lap. For a moment, the world disappeared. It was just them. Do you want to adopt him? The staff eventually asked. Nathan hesitated. He hadn't planned on a dog. His apartment was small, his schedule unpredictable. But looking down at those eyes, the same ones that had looked at him in the river, he knew. Yes, absolutely. I want to take him home. The adoption papers were fast-tracked. A few days later, the dog had a new name, River. And just like that, Nathan's life shifted. River followed him everywhere. To the kitchen, to the couch, even waited outside the bathroom door. Nathan had always thought of himself as emotionally distant, maybe a little guarded. But with River, that changed. Every day was brighter. Every morning started with a wet nose and a wagging tail. He laughed more. He walked more. He felt more. One afternoon, while playing fetch at the park, a woman approached them. Excuse me, are you the guy from the river? Nathan blinked. Yeah, I guess I am. I saw the video. Someone filmed it from the bridge. It went viral. You saved that dog's life. Everyone's talking about it. Nathan didn't know what to say. He hadn't even thought about the crowd with phones. She smiled. It's inspiring. We need more people like you. That night, he searched for the video. It was everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Captioned, Real-life hero saves drowning dog. Views in the millions. Comments from all over the world. People moved to tears, sharing their own rescue stories. He read through hundreds of them. This man risked his life for a dog. Incredible. I cried watching this. Animals are so precious. This reminded me of the dog I lost. Thank you for caring. Something began to stir in Nathan. For so long, he had just been drifting, working, surviving, but not really living. But River, this moment, this connection, it awakened something bigger. He thought, what if this wasn't just a moment? What if it was a beginning? He began volunteering at the rescue center. Once a week turned into twice, then 3 times. He helped clean cages, walked dogs, spent hours calming animals too scared to eat. He started filming short clips, telling their stories. A limping beagle that had been abandoned. A 3-legged cat who still loved to climb. And slowly, his videos began to gain traction. People were listening, watching, feeling. One evening, while editing a new story, he sat beside River and whispered, Maybe we can make a difference, huh, buddy? River wagged his tail in agreement. But then, just as things were beginning to feel right, a phone call came that would shake everything. His brother, Jason, had been in an accident. Serious. Nathan's world tilted again. He hadn't spoken to Jason since their fight. Now he might not get the chance. Nathan drove through the night. The highway lights blurred through his tears as memories of his brother came crashing in. Birthday laughs, summer bike rides, late-night video games. And the argument. The stupid, sharp words that now felt so small. He reached the hospital just before dawn. Jason lay in the ICU, pale and still. Machines beeped steadily around him. Nathan sat beside the bed, gripping his brother's hand. Hey man, it's me, he whispered. You're gonna be okay. I need you to be okay. There was no answer, just the rhythmic hum of life support. But Nathan didn't let go. He stayed for hours, then days. River, too, curled up in the hospital hallway, never far from his side. Nurses brought water bowls and treats, charmed by the well-behaved dog that had become a local hero in his own right. Then, one afternoon movement. Jason stirred. His eyes fluttered open. Nathan, Relief cracked through Nathan like sunlight. He stood, overwhelmed, tears falling freely. Yeah, I'm here. Jason gave a faint smile. You really brought that dog back from the dead, huh? Nathan laughed, choked and raw. Yeah, well, he brought me back too. Over the next few weeks, Jason recovered slowly. And so did their bond. They talked, really talked, for the first time in years. About their parents, their childhood, their regrets. And Nathan finally shared everything. The rescue, the video, River, and how it had all changed him. Jason listened, eyes wide. You found something real, Nate. Something worth holding on to. Nathan nodded. He knew. When Jason was discharged, Nathan took him to the rescue center. The staff welcomed them like family. River barked excitedly, wagging his tail as he led Jason around like a tour guide. There, in the last kennel, Jason saw her, a shy, one-eyed beagle who wouldn't meet his gaze. She reminds me of me, Jason whispered. Broken but not done. They adopted her that day. Named her Hope. From then on, Nathan and Jason worked side by side. They launched a small nonprofit, Second Tales, dedicated to rescuing, rehabilitating, and rehoming animals in need. Their YouTube channel grew from emotional stories to behind-the-scenes rescues, reunion videos, and tips on pet care and adoption. River became the face of it all, the once drowning dog now a symbol of second chances. But beyond the numbers, beyond the views, it was the letters that meant the most. Emails from people who had lost hope and found it again through their stories. Comments from teenagers who decided not to give up because of a rescued dog's courage. Messages from elderly viewers who said their hearts felt a little less lonely after each video. Nathan would often sit in his small home office, River asleep at his feet, and read those words over and over. And every time he remembered that freezing River. That first decision to jump. He had no idea, in that moment, that one act of compassion could ripple outward like that. But it had, and it kept rippling. In the end, Nathan learned something simple but profound. Sometimes the smallest voices, the ones the world doesn't notice, can change everything. A drowning dog. A broken brother. A man who thought he had nothing to offer.